Sorry. All right, I'm going to call to order the Borough Council workshop meeting for March 5th, 2025. Can I get a roll call?
President Ferguson.
Here.
Vice President Gerard.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Fagan.
Here.
Councilmember Cresser. Here. Mayor Gerard.
Here.
Junior Councilperson Nisbet.
Here.
Borough Manager Snyder. Here. Borough Solicitor Harper. Here.
All right, we'll start with our agenda. We'll start with item 1. Can I get approval for the meeting agenda? A motion to approve the agenda for the March 5th, 2025 workshop meeting?
Motion.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilman Cresser. Any questions, changes, or amendments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Item 2, public input. If there's anyone from the public who would like to make a statement, please rise, go to the podium, make sure the button is green, and go ahead and address council. I guess the wave is just saying hi. Okay. All right, we'll go to item 3, the announcements.
Next council meeting, March 19th, regular meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers. The planning commission is scheduled to meet on Monday, March 24th at 6 p.m. in council chambers. The Hatfield Museum Historical Society is scheduled to meet Tuesday, March 25th at 7 p.m. in council chambers. Barack is scheduled to meet Wednesday, March 26th at 8 a.m. in council chambers. And the zoning hearing board is scheduled to meet on Wednesday, March 12th at 7 p.m. in council chambers for the rescheduled hearing at 32 Roosevelt Avenue.
Any questions? All right, if not, we'll go to item 4, our reports from our standing committees. We'll start with budget, finance, and labor. We did not meet, so there's nothing to report. So we'll go on to the planning, building, and zoning.
Yeah, we actually met tonight. We discussed some questions with the new rental inspection program.
All right. Everything positive? Any issues?
Some questions.
Okay.
But yeah, but we came up with a good plan to create something to explain,
Okay.
answer their questions, something we can hand out.
Okay. So, all right. Any question for Councilman Burns? If not, we'll go to public safety.
Yeah, I met, so there's no updates.
All right. Are we doing a comic study on
Me?
Maine? Yeah, I couldn't remember where I saw the
There is one out there.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, they just included one on Maple Avenue, but the results aren't in, so it wasn't shared with the Public Safety Committee yet. And then during the Public Safety Committee meeting last month, they said they were gonna put something out on Maine for some concerns for those that live on Lambert, turning onto Maine. There's been some speeding concerns, so it's out there right now.
Okay. All right. Any question for Councilman Cresser? All right. If not, we'll go to public works and property and equipment.
Has no report due to no meeting.
All right. So I'm gonna assume there's no questions from Councilman Fagan. Utilities.
The Utilities Committee did meet. We are currently on schedule for the North Main sewer and repaving process. As far as we know, our grant is still intact, so there doesn't seem to be any delay because of that. Also, we had a large reduction in our electrical delinquencies due to a large payoff for one of the properties that is in the borough. So that's been pretty much brought up to date. And as of that meeting, we still have about $15,000 of outstanding delinquencies for electricity. And we also discussed the potential for a microgrid project in conjunction with a number of other boroughs such as Percy, Telford, Lansdale, to help in the near future to alleviate our high increases in our electric rates, but that's going to take some time. So we're in the early stages of looking at that now.
All right.
How many is that 15,000? How many different?
$15,000.
Yeah, how many different?
I guess it's about 5 or 6.
Oh, okay, so it's not a huge.
It's not one, no.
Okay. And what about the sewer? Same thing?
Sewer?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Or
Sewer delinquency,
Yeah.
it depends on the cycle. Roughly, the larger cycle is $5,000. The two smaller ones, $3,000.
Is it fair in commenting that our electric delinquency is the lowest that we've seen in a while?
It's fairly low considering, the past, in January was one of the highest billings that we have, over $400,000 billed out. So seeing the delinquencies that low, I haven't seen it that low with that high billed out before. So yeah, we're doing fairly well.
Yeah, so tell the team, good job. So. All right, any questions for Councilman Gerard? If not, we'll go to her.
Hurock has met recently. We discussed about the changes for Earth Day week this year, which is going to run from the 25th to the 21st to the 25th. We this year will not have any recycling and no shedding truck because of the cost involved and the lack of, from last year, the lack of response that we had. So we're going to be working with Hatfield Township for the recycling instead. It's going to be handled through them. And we are looking for volunteers for our Earth Day celebration from 11 to 5 to help us. I'm sorry, it's Founder's Day volunteers, not Earth Day, excuse me. And that's about it.
All right. Any questions for Councilman Gerard? All right, if there are none, we'll go to the mayor's report. Madam Mayor?
I have nothing new to report.
All right. All right, well, that'll conclude our reports from standing committees unless there's any additional questions. If not, we'll go on to reports and correspondence. We'll start with the monthly investment.
Monthly investment and cash accounts report was included in your packets, highlighting the events investment summaries. Seemed a little low on the last page, only bringing in $833 over, dividends and changes. Roughly, a lot of those accounts bring in $10,000 a month, $2,000 a month, maybe. The managed account only brings in a couple hundred, so I do have a call into KeyBank. I don't know if there was some type of clerical error or something. It just seems low for the total. If you're looking back over where we've been in 2024, especially electric normally, it has over $1 million in it, and a gain of loss of 144 seems extremely bizarre. So Diane and I sat down, had a conversation, and reached out to KeyBank. So we're going to have a call with them to just make sure things are on track. It just seemed a little bit off from what we experience, what we normally see in our accounts. So I will make sure that we keep you up to date in that. And also investment tracking, that will be a conversation that we're going to talk about with KeyBank as well. We have 2 notes that are still out, one in 26 and one in 25, but just kind of keeping track of where we are with interest rates and those things. We want to put some money back in, want to kind of ride it out, see how things are. I know personally, outside of this, for interest rates, our pension portfolio did extremely well second half of 2024, moving into the first quarter of 2025. So we'll see if it continues to go or we'll have a dip. It just kind of depends on the market and what's going on in the economy. So we'll keep you posted on that as well.
Any questions? If not, we'll go on to our EIT and LST.
Monthly EIT in your packets, year to date, 102,827 versus in 2024, we were at 112,32. It fluctuates this time of year. Sometimes February is good for us, sometimes March is. So we're not too far off of where we were last year. Nothing to be concerned at this time. Same with LST. Year to date, we're at roughly 6,285. 2024, we were at 15,255. Again, sometimes March picks up. It just really depends when things are being reported. So nothing to be alarmed at. We'll continue to watch the trends.
All right. Questions? If there are none, we'll go to monthly year to date.
Monthly year to date for January 31st is in your package. You can see revenues higher than expenses, which is obviously always good. As I mentioned, we had high electric billing for January, so December into January, older months, get you It's your higher billing, so we have those revenues coming in. Our delinquencies are down, which we talked about, so that's good. Last year, kind of roughly the same for revenues and expenses to start off the year. We were at 666 for revenues, and expenses were 578. So a little bit higher for expenses, but nothing really to be alarmed at. Last year, we didn't have the utility replacement project that was going on, and we've been paying, I think 164 was in January and over 200 in February. So our expenses are going to be up a little bit through this year until that project's complete.
Any questions? If not, we'll go on to our zoning and hearing board applications for the month.
There's no new zoning hearing board applications, but just drawing your attention to that 32 Roosevelt Avenue is going to meet on March 12th at 7 p.m. We talked about that in announcements. That is the accessory dwelling unit that they're asking for a variance on Roosevelt Avenue. You still have agreed to send the solicitor to that zoning hearing board meeting, so she will be attending on council's behalf.
And I believe we gave a recommendation or for that as well.
We are opposed
Right.
to turning a second, to the garage into a second dwelling unit.
Right.
And I did speak to the woman. Apparently she was misled by the person who lived there before and sold her the property, and I advised her to see a lawyer. And when I spoke to Eric Fry earlier this week, he asked me again whether I had told her to see a lawyer. I said, yes, but I don't want to talk to her. I don't think it's appropriate for me to be talking to her. You tell her that. You know, that she should. So he said he would call her and say the same thing. Go consult a lawyer, see what your best arguments are or not.
Yeah.
You know? So that's where we are on it. Otherwise, it's scheduled for hearing and we'll just go and make her prove her case. It's gonna be difficult for her to prove her case because it's the use variance, meaning not just a few feet on the side yard, you know?
All right. Any questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, on the plan, you know, there's no storage space in there, no closet space on all those plans?
Yep. I believe we did make some similar comments to that couple weeks back. So, yeah.
That's a good point, but I'm not really looking to make it more rentable. Well, point, it is done. It is done. Thank you.
Well, and if I remember correctly, right, in the housing for a room to be considered a bedroom, don't you have to have a closet too? So, which I don't think this does. So, anyway,
Yeah.
I think we're getting into the mud. I think the point is that we're not agreeing with the use. So, okay.
Now, you're working on your comprehensive plan, and I did say this to Councilman Fagan, if you guys decide that these types of dwellings are appropriate in certain districts, you can always change the zoning ordinance, to allow them or not. But right now, that does not comply with your zoning
Right.
at all.
Okay. All right. Any questions? If not, we'll go to the MCPC steering committee report.
So the MCPC steering committee report, it wasn't included in your packets, but it's up. It's hard.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure I didn't get that right. Usually I'm the one that's fumbling, right? So.
Montgomery County Planning Commission, I shouldn't tell that. It is up on the screen. I personally did not attend the committee meeting or the steering committee meeting. I know that Jimmy and Larry's, Councilmember Fagan, and Councilmember Burns did, and Katie. So if there's any questions about it, they would be happy, I'm sure, to answer what the progress was. Unfortunately, fortunately, I was in DC, so I was unable to attend that meeting. So if there's questions about it, both of council members would be happy to answer and kind of give you a progress update. This was the agenda, so it's easy to include in the packets for your reference.
Was there anything that was a highlight or stood out that we'd want to talk through?
I mean, it's interesting because they have lots and lots of stats, and great, overviews of borough,
Mhm.
so it was very interesting. So,
It was mostly focused on, transportation, I believe, right?
Yes.
That was pretty much the whole evening was focused on, how people get to work in the borough, and their commute times, which we found was extremely low for the county.
yes,
A large people, portion of the residents, what was it, like 30% or something, were less than 15 minutes from
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
Which is like twice the amount as the average in the borough. So apparently, not a lot of people in Hatfield commute as far as other people. Well, I'm sorry, the more accurate way to say that is, there's more people that have an extremely low commute time, less than 15 minutes to work in the borough. So that's good.
they did talk about the bus route
Bus,
to
yeah,
the borough is eventually going to be
discontinued,
discontinued
because SEPTA's revamping their whole
system.
bus, bus
They
system.
have
especially.
They have an alternative.
Oh, yeah, the
it's
micro
kind-
transit.
Yeah, it's kind of like Uber SEPTA.
Yeah, SEPTA's
Yeah.
talking about doing what was it, SEPTA Go, I believe it was
Yes,
called.
that's what it's called.
And there'll be zones. And if you are within these zones, which kind of cluster around train stations and bus routes, they'll come and pick you up and drop you off, as long as it's within the zone.
And if you're in the
For,
zone,
I think
it's only
$2.
$2.
$2, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
just as a bus.
Yeah,
Similar to an Uber, but it would be like a van, and you'd
Oh,
be
okay.
sharing it with other people. But,
they'll pick you up at your house.
yeah,
Or-
wherever
or
you're at, I
wherever.
think, or wherever you are.
Yeah,
And-
and
and
then
take
drop
you
you. So
where-
let's say, I mean, we talked about like having an older community. You know, if older people have doctor's office visits, they would pick them up at home and take them to the doctor's office, you know, for $2. So,
If it's in the zones, I think the zones are pretty small,
yeah,
but-
yeah,
it's to try to fill any gaps in service from a result of the bus line being discontinued. And there's only certain parts of the county, Lance, I think the North Penn area is one of the only parts of the county, that one map they showed, there's only a couple of them in the
Yeah.
county, these micro transit areas, one was in Lansing, one might have been in Pottstown or
they
something,
were all kind of bubbled together.
and one was, towards, farther down in the county, yeah.
A couple of other regions in the state use them now, and they said use it, and it's very popular. Because we were like, what, you know, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
They're still fleshing out the
Yeah.
details for here, because each area is unique, if you will.
Yeah.
I guess it's more cost effective to do that versus constantly running buses through.
Yeah, they had statistics, some of
The
the
bus
numbers surprised
ridership.
me, yeah, on the number of people that are actually riding the buses, and there's like two stops that are like 90% of the people get off or on,
Yeah,
you know, so.
there's not many stops in the borough,
No.
but on the whole bus line, yeah,
Whole
absolutely.
bus
Yeah, they-
Are they train stations? Like, do people take it to
Uh,
get to?
actually,
Wawa was.
the
wasn't
biggest
the
one
Wawa
for us
40-foot road?
is right here by Hatfield Village.
Oh, it has
So
to-
they're
it has
saying
Union.
Maybe
Union
people
Street.
that don't have vehicles or stuff.
Across
So-
from Hatfield Mart, right
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
apparently people walk down Maple, that was like a very
Yeah.
popular spot to get on
Yeah.
and off,
That was the biggest one for
Yeah.
us.
which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did say for that, SEPTA Go, one thing that they're looking at would be like for a place like that, they may tell, like if somebody calls for a ride, they may say, well, you need to walk down like 1 block, you know, so they can, like, instead of driving, they would kind of put it together so they can pick up a group of people there type thing. But, and they look like, what they were talking about was like vans and that kind of thing, so. Yeah, interesting. It was overall interesting.
And, we did also discuss the, community outreach portion of it as well. We didn't pick a date or anything, but there is gonna be a public open house that they're discussing, that they're gonna hold here at the borough for residents to come in and ask questions about the comprehensive plan, and different issues. There'll be the board set up throughout that people can kind of interact with, and we'll be here to answer, me and Larry and the other people will be here to answer questions.
We use Borough Hall
By the
for it?
board, Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be
Okay.
here in Borough.
yeah, they were
Did we pick
they
the
were
date?
unclear
I
on the
don't think we
date.
picked the date. We
No.
didn't.
April 28th.
Oh, they did pick it there?
What was it?
I know they kept going
April
back and forth.
28th.
April 28th? Okay, so as of now, we believe April 28th should be the open house date. I will definitely confirm that between now and then, but
Don't hold us to that.
yeah, there's a little asterisk behind that.
No, that,
But we're gonna do it. Anyway,
No,
there
hopefully
will be
we
an
can.
open house and
Maybe it'll be
details
on the
will be
28th.
spread throughout all of the normal chat.
We should probably put something on social media for them as well.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, they're gonna have flyers.
and I think they're gonna help a little with that too.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, they'll have flyers.
yeah, MCPC.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
If there's no additional questions, we'll go on to Barth Consulting.
Fees report was not included in your packets this month.
Just a quick question in relation to that. Do we have any new information about the train station? Anything else new happening with that, with the potential client that he was talking about?
So I know that he has been in contact with a potential client and shared a sample lease with them. And, I'm not sure if he, heard back or not. As of Monday, there was other people that were also interested in it, and he was kind of taking them around along with Casey's, which is also up for sale. So kind of like between both, kind of showing them and working with Casey's Realtor to see what could or could not fit for potential clients of the train station. I also know that, one of the applicants that was interested originally, who was interested in creating more of like a coffee shop type of place. She's still interested in it if, we can make that connection and see how that would turn out. I think that she would still be interested in the property. So that's kind of where we've been so far.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If there are no other questions, we'll go on to the police report.
The police department report is not in your packets, for this meeting. Lieutenant Graham will be attending the regular meeting this month.
How about fire?
Fire department report is on the screen this evening, and Vice President Butch is in attendance if you have specific questions about the report and the calls. It seems like there were a lot of calls in February, considering it's a short month. I noticed.
Yeah, we have 49 calls. 94 already, and we're not even through the first week of March, we're already good on calls, so that's. If we keep at that pace, we're going to blow away the record number we had last year with another record number of calls, so. See.
Is that out of curiosity due to the lack of volunteers? Would you have to do extra coverage now?
There is more mutual aid going on. Some of it's due to decreased staffing in our neighbors, but some of it's also due to the fact that the county is dispatching calls differently. So they're sending a little more apparatus, like an extra engine to each call now. So we're all getting a little bump from that.
You,
Any questions? How about our EMS report?
EMS report was included in your packets, 20 municipal responses out of the 1,326 for their coverage area. Also wanted to highlight on March 10th, they're having an open house launch event for pre-hospital life-saving blood. So they'll be able to they're going to launch this Whole Blood Saves Lives event on March 10th at 11 a.m. if you're interested in attending. If you haven't RSVP'd or received the email, I know the mayor was on the email chain. I'm going to that, yes. And so I'd be happy to respond for you, share it with you. If it's something you think you're interested in at 11 a.m., they're going to launch. Like Rep. Malagary and a couple other dignitaries will be there to talk about this and the impacts that it has on saving lives. And it's called Pre-Hospital Blood to the North Penn in Indian Valley, PA. Like less than 1% of EMS agencies in the nation can actually give blood like on scene. So this is something that they're launching for this area.
All right, any questions? How about Public Works?
Well, we had, well, basically call it one really significant power outage last month due to the high winds. There are two outage reports in your packet. One is a single resident that is still without power until further repairs are done. The other one was the one that caused a third of the town to go out high winds caused a pine tree to fall over, make contact with the primary. There's pictures in there for everybody's googly eyes. So, I mean, I thought it was, for all things considered with the high winds that we did have and the surrounding areas that were impacted, Hatfield Township, all the other municipalities around us, whether it was from other PMEA members or, PICO, PPNL, I thought we actually managed very well for just that one outage. The only other thing I'll note that we are doing is, we are televising sewer laterals for the contractor that's doing the utility replacement project on North Main Street. We noticed that when we marked the Pennsylvania 1 call, we had a lot of sewer laterals that were tied into the sewer main that didn't seem to go to any active properties. So these are all, in my opinion, easy sources of I&I. So as they're coming up to these sewer laterals, we're running our camera through them to determine whether they're active or not. So far, out of the 7 laterals that they've done, only 2 have been active. So that's been a lot of laterals that we've been able to eliminate right off the bat that will obviously help with I&I, but also in the end of the entire project, decrease costs as well with laterals that they would have had to tie in otherwise.
Do they like cap those off or something, or just?
They cap them off with bricks and mortar in the street, and the other side, we're verifying how they're capped off. Most of them have been capped off with concrete.
What's that happen?
I don't know. I wasn't alive when that sewer main got put in.
Okay, well, maybe that, like, would it be the Theological Seminary took over a bunch of properties?
No.
Buildings that aren't there anymore?
No, my thought is, the sewer main went in and our local historian is not in the audience tonight. And I can put a call into him tomorrow to find out, but my thought is the sewer main went in prior to a bunch of these houses. So when it was installed, laterals were stubbed off the main and ran to the sidewalk for possible future use. And then when houses were built, either they didn't know that that lateral was there to tie in and they did an additional tie into the main somewhere else. That's the best theory I can
The
come up
reason
with.
I asked is if it were outside the street and on some, and if it went to somebody's property, of course, it belongs to them.
Right.
Right.
So there are a few properties that I believe that there were houses there, but once again, I don't know if I was alive when that happened.
Okay.
Not trying to make myself too young, but I mean,
Okay.
Sounded like you did.
Messing with private property, but if it's in the street, it belongs to us anyway.
and that's why I'm staying on site as they're coming across these laterals so that I can make the determination on whether or not they're active or not. And if there's any questions, we take a 5-gallon bucket and we pour it into their trap in their yard. And if water comes out in the ditch, it's active. So we're making sure that everything gets tied in that needs to be tied in.
It could be that situation where contractors too, they don't want to trust anyone else's work, so they'd rather do it all themselves, because ultimately they're responsible for it, so they may have just,
Yeah.
put it into different attachments, so versus using what was already there, so. Okay. All right. Any questions for Steve? Thank you again for the response for the power outages, so. You and your team. All right, we'll go on to our engineering report.
Engineering report was included in your packets. I will just highlight, for the Broad Street utility and North Main Street utility replacement project, all storm sewer replacement in West Broad Street has been completed, including approximately 2,900 linear feet of storm sewer, 23 structures, and stream bank stabilization. The highlight of that project thus far is that the alley is open on West Broad, next to the salt box houses. So that's what we refer to them as across from Vinny's. God bless you. Residents are extremely excited about that. Unfortunately, that will be closed again. When
Bless you. Okay.
Unfortunately, it will be closed again for a shortened period of time. As you drive by there, it's just blacktop right now on the curbing and concrete. When they come back and do paving and concrete work, we're gonna have to close the alley, just for a few days, maybe up to a week, just so the concrete can cure. But we're obviously gonna do that, or the contractor's gonna do that in the springtime. But Steve and I had a conversation, and we didn't want to leave the alley closed for 2 months or 3 months until he would come back. We didn't think that was fair, especially for the residents that have been wanting that alley open for several years. So we said we'd rather open it up and then close it for 5 days if we had to, then continue to let it. So Steve and I decided that it was the best decision to open it up last week. We've actually had positive comments already about it being open. So that's good. And as you know, the project has started on North Main Street. It's under construction, and the test digs that you approved at the meeting in February are scheduled for Friday, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that's kind of where we are on that project.
So do we want to have a celebration in the alley once it gets fully paved?
I think the residents would appreciate that. A couple, yeah.
Yeah.
They're very, I will say, I got a lot of calls about it being closed. I have actually got more calls about the thankfulness of it being open, and or those coming in to pay their electric bill that I happen to be out front, or they're talking to David and just their appreciation. So I think it's great. It's progress forward. That's why I said so far it's the best thing that's happened as part of that project. It's a good milestone that we've made.
I will disagree with that. I finally got a road plate back that we've been missing for like 10 years. So
big.
for me, that's huge.
Let's see, make Steve happy or make the residents happy?
Steve.
Okay,
Steve is a resident. They overlap.
Thanks, Jimmy.
that's true. That is true.
Are you letting those residents know that it's gonna close again?
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, I do end the conversation with the bad news that it
No,
will be
it's not
closed
bad.
again.
That's not bad.
But no, they are very thankful, and they understand because they can see the condition it's in
Yep.
today, and that they don't want it to stay in that condition forever. So yes, they do get the temporary bad news at
Good,
the end
bad,
of the
the ugly,
conversation.
yeah.
Yes. Just miscellaneous, we had our meeting, with the engineer on February 18th to discuss, the current state of the borough, future projects of the borough. We do this every year with the engineers. Steve and I sit down and Katie and meet with them and kind of just have a kickoff meeting where we are, where we're going. One of the things we discussed in great detail was, the Heather Meadows Pond. We have actually been getting several calls about it, that it's, probably because it's starting to maybe get a little bit warmer out and people are gonna, what is that gonna look like this summer? That is gonna be a topic at the town hall. They'll be coming, as I said, I think last meeting or the meeting before. Couple of, what could it look like, renderings, maybe some ideas, and just looking for feedback from residents. So that will be included as a big discussion as part of the town hall, when we hold that in May. Other than that, Chad's report was very similar, no new land development updates, outside of approving the resolution for 23 North Main Street at the last meeting.
I'm gonna ask from a public works standpoint, I apologize, I should have brought it up before the engineering. Can we take a look at the road out in front of the 7-Eleven on Unionville Pike? There's a huge, it's been there for a while, and I'm wondering, what do we need to fix that? That's our road we're responsible for, right?
Unfortunately, it is.
Okay, can we take a look and see what it would take? Because I'm assuming it wouldn't take fixing the whole road, but just patching or knocking out a section of it, so.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
look into that.
Okay. All right, any questions on the engineering report? Or going back to public works, if anyone else wants to, Bug Steve. All right, if not, we'll go to the zoning officer, building code property maintenance report.
Bob's report was included in your packets, continuing with fire safety and rental inspections, just kind of receiving the rental inspections, logging them, starting to schedule them as people are remitting payment for that. Also continuing with fire safety inspections and kind of designating the difference between the two. Notice of violations, 2 new ones for properties on South Main Street, and nothing else of significance, just regular permits, that type of thing.
Uneventful month. All right, any questions? If not, fire marshal's report?
There was no report included in your packet.
Excuse me. All right, pool advisory?
Pool advisory report was included in your packets, just highlighting all three of our members attended the pool advisory board meeting, so I think that's awesome. That people that volunteer are going to the meetings, I think that's great. All three of them were in attendance. Most of the meeting, they spoke about summer hiring, like what is that gonna look like? How many people are they hiring? How many are coming back? How many, lifeguards or attendants they have, so that was most of the meeting. Talked a little bit about their rates, and I know that you can currently register for your season pass on their website.
As far as our members are concerned, they misspelled Owen's last name.
Just so.
Just, I'm sure it's a typo.
No. Any questions? All right, if not, we'll go on to item 6, our manager's report.
My report was included in your packets, nothing new, through my report, just wanted to highlight, the items of interest that, I attended with PMEA, went to Washington DC last week, met with, 6 congressmen and women, also met with Fetterman's office and McCormick's office, had meetings, very productive, also very shocked how many have no idea about the PJM issue and what is going on in the state of Pennsylvania and how Governor Shapiro has responded and how this affects the 35 municipalities. I will say that Congressman Fitzpatrick's office was on top of it. They've reached out to FERC. They've had many conversations with PJM. They're on top of it. They kind of could aid and help in the conversation. Other than that, some knew and some didn't, so we just offered our support. We offered for them to come out to one of our municipalities that they represent, stand in front of a substation, stand and talk to their constituents and let them know their stance on the PJM rate increases and, how we can help them and we can work together to try to kind of bring this under wraps and, talk about the cap that the governor had put on for the next auction. So though it was very positive, we're just trying to work together with all our representatives to just get the information out there that this isn't just a Pennsylvania issue, it's actually a federal issue, and get everybody educated about the topic because their phones, just like our phones and everyone else's, is going to start ringing in June when PP&L and PICO start raising rates. And, people understand that we had a rate increase this year and what that kind of looks like moving forward. So it was very productive, very informative, and glad we could get the word out about PMEA.
Out of curiosity, any speculation as to why there were so many places that weren't aware? I mean, with all the publication they had on, it was on the news, various other things, and they had not a clue?
Yeah, no, it really
It's a little redundant.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it had to do with the communication that they maybe receive in their area. So like Fitzpatrick, like Madeline Dean, they knew Hatfield Borough is very active, Lansdale is very active. Congressman Joyce in Chambersburg is very active about getting the word out. Some of the other more rural areas in Pennsylvania, it just probably hasn't hit yet. Also, some places in Pennsylvania for PMEA, they didn't have to raise their rates because they purchase power at a different cost than we do in the PP&L and PICO areas. So they might not have had the impact that we kind of were talking about the entire budget season and expressing our concerns for it. Also, PP&L and PICO have not raised their rates yet or haven't publicized their rate increase yet based on that auction. So it just might have not spread as wide as it has spread in other active areas. Is the only thing we can think of kind of just depending on who they represent and how they get their information.
What, 3C, discuss potential projects? Is there like some things that we don't know about yet or?
Oh, no, we just,
Oh, okay.
for stormwater feasibility study, when we meet with Hatfield Township, we just talk about where we are in the progress for the stormwater grant. Is to where do we think we're having stormwater issues in Hatfield Township? Where does the borough think they are? And we have to rate them on a scale. So the last meeting, we sat down and we brought like our 6 top where we get complaints at. They brought their 6 top. And we discussed like potential projects that could work, like would we do some stream bank stabilization in this area? Would we? So that's kind of where we were. It's not anything that's set in
Yeah.
stone.
That was the projects we discussed before.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, how do we rate them? And they have to all get rated on a scale per the grant. And then we pick like the top project and see how that fits into both municipalities.
Why 6? Was that just what they specified or is?
We just, from our original meeting was like pick top 6 areas in your municipality where you have received the most concern on your stormwater issues and or the most complaints. And we both came up with, it was kind of more like top 4. We were kind of stretching in the borough to get 5 and 6, to be honest, because a lot of it is the downtown where the trolley stop is located, that bridge where the firehouse is, through like Centennial Park, out towards Diamond, up Bergie, which that goes into the township. And that could be all one project. That's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then move over here, Tom Ensign and Stephanie 6, 7. So we
Right.
kind of one and group that into like one project. So
Okay.
that's kind of how we did it.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right. If not, we'll go on to item 7, new business and discussion items. Well, item A, resolution 2025-03, the Monco 2040 implementation grant.
So Hatfield Borough and Hatfield Township were approached by Partnership TMA, who was interested in submitting a grant on our behalf for community bike upgrades, bike racks, bike fix-it stations. If you've seen at White's Road Park, they implemented a bike fix-it station, which is really cool. We kind of go up, you can fill your tires, you can do little like, I don't want to say knick-knacky things, but kind of get your bike ready to go, tuned up, out on the road. So they came to Hatfield Township and Hatfield Borough and asked if we wanted to do a joint grant for both municipalities. I believe the joint grant was $121,269, which would establish bike racks, fix-it stations, bike lanes, signs in Hatfield Borough and Hatfield Township. The match for that is 20% for Hatfield Township, 10% for Hatfield Borough. It's just the way that the grant is, depending on your median income range for your municipality is how much you match. But we can also do 10% is roughly $29,000 for us, but we can do in kind. So if Public Works would to go out and we would get this grant and Public Works would install a bike rack, that would take off the 29, a little bit off the 29,000. They would install the fix-it station, that would take it off as well. So we're putting this on. Hatfield Township enacted their resolution at the February meeting. This is on for us in March, so we can apply for the grant to see if we get the funds to create this bike stations, bike racks, bike signs, just more bikeable. And Hatfield Borough goes along really well with our Bike More, Drive Less program, that grant that we're in right now, working with them. I think we meet once a month. So just kind of continuing that theme of biking rather than getting in your car and driving somewhere.
Is there detail on how the money be allocated, where the stations would be, all that kind of detail?
So based off of the money is allocated based off the number of miles of bike route in each municipality, plus 4 bike racks for the township and 3 for the borough, as well as 3 fix-it stations each. So currently it's 2.49 bike route miles in the borough and 11.9 bike route miles in the township.
And is that on a drawing someplace or that level of detail?
Yes, they provide this as a sample to submit along with this is just a draft, so it's not like their public document that they have, but it just talks about, a lot of it is road sharing, using our current trails. One of the areas under discussion was in some of our neighborhoods, Gene Drive, how that comes through, but in Gene Drive doesn't connect the borough and the township, so you would have to dismount. You couldn't put a bike lane through there, 'cause it's not a driving lane. So, a lot of that is under review because they didn't know that when they were putting together the draft application, that you couldn't really get through there. So we'll have to kind of talk about maybe more signage out there. But yeah, this is all for bike racks, bike fix-it stations, signs, paint, that kind of thing.
Is all that defined and ready to go, or is it still in flux as to?
So partnership team A is in charge of creating the entire grant. So they write it all, they do everything. We just have to say that we would, we're willing to, if we get the grant, match 10% of the cost. And yes, it will be defined when the grant is submitted.
Okay.
I would assume that, the township and the borough would have responsibility for maintaining, that, equipment and everything, any damages like, vandalism for replacement.
Yes, I believe that we would be responsible for, maintaining it or, maintaining it, I guess I will say. I don't necessarily know replacing it, if, a fix-it station got vandalized and broken, I'm not so sure that we would replace it depending on the cost, right?
All right. And you said this is on for action when?
This evening because the grant is due.
There is a very minor spelling error in the second paragraph. One of the themes, connecting communities is misspelled.
It's commutes.
Calm minutes.
Oops.
I didn't know if that was a different term that I wasn't aware of.
Yes.
Could be, there's a lot of things I don't know.
Just rearrange the letters, that's all.
Yeah.
So, Madam Manager, question, what is the implementation timing for, once we get the grant, what's the implementation timing?
So the money would be budgeted for 2026.
All right. Any other questions? All right, if not, I'm assuming there's no old business. Which leads us to item 9, our action items, which we were just talking about, so. All right, can I get a motion to approve resolution 2025-03 authorizing submission of a grant application for the 2025 round the Monco 2024 implementation grant program? Did I pronounce it right? I get a motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. All right, we will have an executive session, so can I get a motion to adjourn for the evening?
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Cressler, second from Councilman Fagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.